guys, Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with a video I have been anticipating for so long, and I'm so excited to do it, and that is chatting the books that I think are going to appear on the Goodreads Choice Awards for 2023. I've done this video so many times. I don't know if I've done this 2 or 3 years, but I can link my previous ones down below. I am very excited to chat about what I think is going to show up, and it's a very weird time where I don't know what can show up because so many things have been republished with Bloom and a variety of different publishers, but primarily Bloom, and I'm just like, will these show up on this list even though they were indie published last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? What has the opportunity to show up on this list? Because I saw the Barnes & Noble list of the top 10 romances they claim for the year. I'd only read 4 of them, and one of them was a book that released like in 2016. So we'll see. I'm going to talk about those options. But first, I want to thank the sponsor of this video, which could not be more perfect, because I think this book is going to show up on the list. And that is The Graham Effect by Elle Kennedy. If you've been following me for some time, you might remember a time where I was living in my apartment and reading the Off-Campus series for the first time. And when I tell you I was obsessed, I read the series in 2015 when I think only 2 books were out, because I remember getting the score on my Kindle and sitting in my bedroom. Like, I vividly remember where I was when I was reading this book in my apartment and reading the entire night, and I don't do that often. So when I heard Elle was writing a spin-off series of The Next Generation, I freaked out. So this one has so many of my favorite things in a book. So this has Gigi, who is Garrett Graham's daughter, and Hannah, the wife, who was the heroine of the deal, and she is a hockey player. And I love when the heroine is the athlete. I mean, to be fair, Ryder, the hero, is also a hockey player, so they're both hockey players, and they skate together. It is like one of my favorite scenes, like micro tropes in a book, where they do their sport together. So in this one, they meet and they do not get off on the right foot. He immediately thinks she is a figure skater, calls her prom queen, and he is not impressed with her. He's like, you shouldn't be on the ice right now. And she's literally there for her dad's camp, with the reason he is there. And so he's put into his place, but now his college and Briar U are being combined. So he is kind of like an outsider on this campus. She obviously goes to Briar because like her parents went there, and like she's a legacy, and she plays for the hockey team, and she is really good. She wants to play for the Olympic team, but she has a weakness behind the net, and so he offers to help her with her weakness if she puts in a good word with her dad so that he can get the spot at this training camp as like a coach. And she agrees because she does know that that's a weakness of hers and it's very frustrating. So they skate together, they have little sessions together, and they start becoming friends. And then it becomes a friends with benefits situation, and it is literally, when I tell you I was so giddy reading this book. I loved this book so much, and it was so fun being back in this world, being back with Garrett Graham and seeing all of her uncles, which are like the guys from the Off-Campus series, and it's just so good. And I love a good romance where they're both athletes and they're both so dedicated and obsessed with their sport, and it's so good. It is so good. So please read this one. Like, I am loving it so much. And you guys know how much I love Elle Kennedy and how much I love a series. So if you are at all interested, you don't have to have read the Off-Campus series to read this, but it is a romance about 2 hockey players in college and him trying to fight his way to get a starting spot on the program because 2 teams have been combined and they can't start them all, and she's trying to get better at her sport, and it is so good, so definitely pick this up. But I definitely think this is going to show up in the Goodreads Choice Awards. I would be surprised if it wasn't. It is already sitting at number 2 in the Kindle store because Iron Flame is number 1. If Iron Flame was not coming out on Tuesday, this would be number 1, without a doubt. So I definitely think this is going to be on the Goodreads Choice Awards, and I've only seen rave reviews about it. So thank you so much to Elle Kennedy for sponsoring this video. Definitely check this out if you're interested, and I could not recommend it enough. So read The Graham Effect, grab it now. Okay, I have a lot of books, so I don't know if we want to start with what I like for sure think is going to be on this list. Let me grab those actually. There are quite a few that I'm like, I would be flabbergasted if this is not on the list. So there's a few that I'm like, maybe. So I had asked on Instagram what you guys thought, so some of you gave me your opinions, and I was like, that is true. That is true. We cannot forget that one. So we're I think actually we've had a couple where there's been 2 by an author, but for sure Anna Huang is gonna end up on that list. Now I think King of Pride came out this year, if I remember. It did, okay. But King of Greed just came out, and I don't know which one they're gonna put on the list. I think they'd probably put King of Greed on the list, but I can't be 100% certain. But Anna Huang, Twisted Hate was on the list last year. I don't even remember what book won last year, now that I think about it, but I usually end up doing a video where I read the top 10 that's chosen, so I did end up reading Twisted Hate for that video and I really enjoyed it. I love Anna Huang's books, so I think that King of Greed is going to be on there. She's killing it in the charts right now since it just came out like last week, 2 weeks ago. And King of Pride, I think this one, just because it's more timely and I just see so many more people talking about this, I think King of Greed is going to be on it. It's Marriage in Trouble. So good. I gave this one 5 stars. I also really love this one though and gave it 5 stars. So I would not be mad if either one showed up on the list, but definitely think King of Greed probably will be on the list. Okay, I for sure know Happy Place by Emily Henry is going to be on this list. I would not be surprised if this won. It definitely is based on the amount of readers and ratings the book has. So whichever book is nominated that has the most ratings is probably going to win, because it's whoever gets the most votes from the readers, and the book with the most readership is probably going to get the most votes. But this one I have not yet read, and this one I definitely do want to read. I'm probably going to end up reading it for that video. So this one, I don't even know anything about it. I think they had broken up and have to go on vacation with friends and have to act like they're still together. So I don't know, but I have not super loved anything from Emily Henry since Beach Read. I loved Beach Read, so I'm hoping this is another instance. I've heard if you love Beach Read, you'll like this. Unless I'm just making that up because I want to like it, but yeah. There's that one. These next 2 I think for sure are going to be on the list. So we have Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. Love this one, gave it 5 stars. This one, they're both doctors and he has anxiety and she is dealing with, I don't remember if she was married and got divorced. She just broke up with someone and her parents are mad that she's not going to be with him anymore. And so that's this book, and I loved it. I gave it 5 stars, but I also loved Part of Your World and gave it 5 stars. So Abby Jimenez has been hitting it for me. Yes, for sure gonna be on that list. I also think that The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston will be on there. I think I gave this 4.5 stars. I really loved it as well. I love her as an author. This one has a kind of haunted apartment where it will slip you back 7 years in the past, whoever was staying there, and that's what happens with her, and she falls in love with the guy staying there. But then she meets him in the present too, and he knows everything that like had played out in the past because he's already lived it. It is so good. It's so good. I would love that. This one, I am like crossing my fingers that it's going to be on this list because it's one of my favorites of the year and I need this to be on the list. Forget Me Not by Julie Soto. Forget Me Not is a second chance romance with a wedding planner and a wedding florist, and it is everything. I was obsessed. I listened to the audio. Teddy Hamilton narrated. He was so good, and it's one of my favorites of the year. So love that this was on the list as well. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 already that I'm like for sure will be on the list. Oh, I have not read this yet either, but pretty sure Allie Hazelwood is going to end up on the list as well. She is definitely someone who ends up on the list every year, and I've heard good things about this one. I think more so than the previous book in this series, but I have not read it yet. But I'm excited for a new one. A vampire romance from Allie Hazelwood, yes please. This one is fake dating, academic rivals. I'm gonna read this soon. I will, if not for this video. Okay, so those were ones where I'm just like, this is gonna happen. So let me see if there's anything. Oh, okay, so there's one I don't own. So I'm gonna mark these off that I've already talked about them so I don't forget any. So we have, oh yeah, okay. There's so many. I forgot to grab one. So we have Things We Left Behind by Lucy Score. I think this will totally be on there. I actually have not read this yet. I don't even own a copy. It's so long, and I enjoyed book 1. It's just I'm not super itching to read a super long book when I just enjoyed the first one. So all I know is that they're small town. I don't know anything else about this plot. Lucy Score kills it with every single release she has, so I'm assuming this one will be on the list. We also have either Final Offer or Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher. I would love to see Lauren on this list. I didn't remember that Final Offer actually came out this year, but I give that one 5 stars. I loved Final Offer. It's a second chance small town billionaire romance. So good. And Love Redesign comes out on Tuesday. So there are books that have not come out yet that could possibly be on this list, and I would not be surprised if that one did end up on it. I think that one they have to like renovate a house together or something, but I haven't seen reviews and I haven't seen obviously like the charts, she's gonna kill it in the charts though, so this is probably gonna end up on there as well. I was interested in Wildfire possibly being on the top, though I haven't seen a lot of people reading this book, but I feel like I also don't follow a lot of people who read traditionally published books. But Wildfire by Hannah Grace, I think is her name. She wrote Icebreaker, which I wasn't a fan of, which I know everybody loved, so Wildfire did make the charts, so I would not be surprised if this one also I think was on Barnes & Noble's top 10 of the year, so that's why I was like, oh yeah, probably. So the one that I don't know about, which we have 4 options for this author, because her entire series was published through Bloom this year and she had a new release. So something Elsie Silver has to be on this list. I would be shocked if Elsie was not on this list. We do have Hopeless, which just came out. This actually ended up being my least favorite of the series, but we do have 1 through, I don't know if 4 has come out yet. I do have 1 through 3 here, and I would be shocked if these did not make it, because these did end up technically publishing in 2023. But if they're not going to use that rule, then maybe they'll have Hopeless be on that list. So something Elsie Silver should be showing up on the list this year, and if it didn't, I would be shocked. I would be blown away if Elsie was not on that list, because she has been killing it this year with all of her releases. Another one that I think is probably going to be on the list, just based on how it's been doing in the Kindle store, it is indie published and it's not going trad until next year. So Caught Up by Liz Tomford. If Goodreads is going to have indie romances, this has to be on that list. This one has been in the top of the Kindle store literally for the past month. Books 1 and 2 in the series are also in the top 100 at the same time. So this one, if they're allowing indie romances in the top, Caught Up is 100% going to be there. I have not read this yet. I need to. It is Tori's favorite, I know, and it's single dad, nanny, she's a chef, baseball, everything I love, and I need to read it. So I would be shocked if she wasn't in the top 10. Let's look at, so a lot of people when I asked said Fourth Wing. I don't think that Fourth Wing actually is going to end up on the romance list, because it's going to be in fantasy. It's probably going to sweep the fantasy whole entire category and make people mad. Every year a fantasy romance wins the fantasy category, and it makes fantasy readers very upset, which I always love the fantasy that ends up winning, so it's fine. I also was looking at Book of the Month picks, because whichever gets the most hype and focus and exposure typically gets on this list. So we have You Again, which I saw everywhere when it released. I would not be surprised if I saw this on the list. This one is, I think it's like inspired by When Harry Met Sally. I actually have no idea what it's about, but I literally almost bought it at Barnes & Noble and I was like, stop buying books. Try the library. You can just get it from the library. You're gonna be fine. So I didn't buy it. I was very proud of myself, even though it was buy one, get one half off. I always am roped into those sales, but this one might show up. Someone also said The True Love Experiment by Christina Lauren. I do think that Lacey read this and she actually really liked it. I have not read this yet. I haven't read a lot of their new releases. They're very different than what they used to write, and I was more of a fan of what they used to write, but they usually end up on the list. I haven't seen a lot of people reading this book, so I don't know if it'll end up on the list, but this is also a possibility. We do have Hello Stranger by Catherine Center. This is one that is not actually a romance, that always is put in the romance category, because I think The Bodyguard was more romance. Actually, I actually enjoyed that one that I read by her. I also did read her Firefighter one, and I think I only read those two because they were on the list for Goodreads, and they were good. A lot of them actually only focus on the heroine's like journey and her life, more so than the romance. So we'll see if she ends up on this list again with her more so fiction than romance book. Oh, we do have The Long Game by Elena Armas. Could go on here because I do think that her last 2 releases were on the list. I just wasn't a big fan of this one, and I don't see a lot of people loving it more than the books 1 and 2. So not sure if this one will be on the list, but it is a possibility. Okay, so we do have another one that I'll go ahead and go to the 2 that came out trad this year, even though they were published last year. Well, no, this one actually came out this year. This was a very quick one. So Done and Dusted by Lila Sage, I've seen so many people rave about, and it's already gotten a deal and it's already come out in a traditionally published book. So this one did release this year as an indie book, which is why I have this copy, and now it is published. I forget who picked it up, but I think it's just a small town cowboy romance. But we also have Tara DeWitt, who was picked up, and this one released already as well. And this one is a single dad comedian romance, friends to lovers, fake dating. I'm obsessed with this book, so I would not be mad if it made it, but this did release last year and was picked up and got re-released this year. So if they're doing re-releases, possibly this one has a much better chance of being on there though, so possibilities. That's the part of the chat we're at now, our possibilities. We also have BK Borison that came out. I don't know if any of hers would make this list, but she is an option. Now we're gonna go with the kind of wild cards that I feel like they could make it, because Goodreads likes to throw in books where I'm like, I haven't seen that around, but sure. So we do have You With a View by Jessica Joyce. I've seen a lot of people picking this up and actually really loving it, and this is one that they might throw in as a wild card, possibly. This one is an academic rivals to lovers, and I think they have to go on a road trip. Yeah. So, and this is a debut, which would be really fun. Maybe it would be under the debut category. Maybe Done and Dusted will be on the debut category, because I think they do have some authors for romance in the debut one. So maybe. I don't think any of these others are debut romances. We also have Iris Kelly Doesn't Date by Ashley Herring Blake. This is a sapphic romance. I would love to see more queer romances in the top 20 of Goodreads, but we will see. I do have this one, and then I also have Something Wild and Wonderful by Nita Kelly. I would absolutely love if this book was in the top for Goodreads, because I am obsessed with this book. It was so good. It's an MM romance where they hike the Pacific Coast Trail together, and it literally made me cry. I read it in a day. Love this. I would love to see this in the top. But also this one recently came out, and I have not read it yet, so I can't tell like how good it is or how popular it was, but I'm obsessed with how floppy it is. I really enjoyed the first book of this series, and so I do know that this one a lot of people are picking up, so this could end up showing up. We also though have one that was not my favorite, but I was so excited for it, and I still have this copy because I just like the idea, and that is Cleat Cute by Meryl Wilsner. I feel like Meryl Wilsner's previous book actually might have been in the top for Goodreads for the year. I don't remember, but this one's a sapphic soccer romance, and it was really cute. I gave it 3.5 stars though, because I wanted just a little bit more angst. I don't love it when a romance is just like really cute. So this one though, I have the special edition from Afterlight that I'm obsessed with. It is stunning, and I'm just a huge women's soccer fan. I was really excited for a women's soccer sapphic book, but this could end up on the list. You never know. Okay, and so then I have two that also came out this year that possibly could. I have Salt Kiss by Sierra Simone. Maybe. I haven't read this one yet, but I know so many people love it, so this is a possibility. And then I forgot this came out. Sarah Adams, Practice Makes Perfect. This was super cute. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. I wouldn't be mad if I saw this on there. This one is a fake dating bodyguard romance. Well, actually, it's like Lessons bodyguard romance. He's the bodyguard of her friend, and he's teaching her how to date. So I did enjoy that one. So I ran through that list pretty quickly. Let me mark off what I've done. Carly Fortune had a new book come out, but I don't think a lot of people really loved it, so I don't think that that's gonna be on there like her last one, which was so popular. So not sure if that one's gonna show up. I also need to check the timeline. I think Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan just missed the cutoff last year. So maybe that would be able, I don't remember the like, because it came out in November, I remember that. And I don't remember if it missed the cutoff or they just like robbed Kennedy Ryan of being on the list last year. But Before I Let Go could be on this list if it can, because that one did so well and it's amazing. I love it so much, and I would love to see it on this list. Okay, I think that's everything. Oh, but the one that I want to talk about that got republished that was on the Barnes & Noble list is The Wall of Winnipeg and Me by Mariana Zapata. This one was picked up and it was published this year. This has been out for a very long time. It is fantastic. I absolutely love this book, but is it going to be on this list? I don't know. I am so intrigued to see what Goodreads is going to do if they are going to be putting books that are republished. We shall see. Who knows? But that is all I have. Let me know in the comments below who you think will show up. If I forgot something really obvious, please let me know because I probably did. But these are the books that I think like for sure. Some of them, without a doubt, are going to be on the list. Some of them, I wouldn't be surprised if they were on it. And some of them, I'm like, maybe they can be a wild card. But I do want to thank Elle Kennedy again for sponsoring this video because this book is amazing. And I will just like scream about it to everybody. I love it so, so much. It was so fun being back in this world. Love hockey romances. I really love Gigi and Ryder's relationship. It's just so good. And like I said, things were just making me so giddy, and it's so cute, and it's got hockey. It's got friends with benefits situation going on, but they're kind of hating each other in the beginning. And there's training involved where they're both playing hockey together. Like, I love it. So definitely check this out if you haven't yet, and thank you to Elle for sponsoring this video. And that's all I have. As always, thank you so much for watching, and have a good day. Bye.